What's up, you lazy, entitled, basement-dwelling millennials, bootstrapping boomers, apathetic Xers, and goddamn Gen Z kids today? We're heading down south today with Victoria Broderick, who is running for Tennessee 4th. We were really lucky to be able to snag her last minute here to talk about Tennessee politics. I think it's really important because the Tennessee 7th race just happened, and even though it wasn't exactly the outcome we wanted, it was a huge win in the loss there. So, Victoria, thank you so much for being here. I've had the privilege of meeting you in person in D.C. recently, where you traveled to raise some hell with us, and that was great. But please tell the viewers, who you are, where you're from, why you're running, and what you're running for specifically.
Yeah, so guys, I'm Victoria Broderick. I'm running for Congress in Tennessee's District 4. I am a mom of 2 tiny humans, 4 fur babies. I foster with a local humane society. I also have an exchange student. And I work full time. I decided to run in 2024 while I was on a district-wide call for the Tennessee's 4th district over some liquid courage and a weekend. And put my name on the ballot, having never run for office, had no intention of running for office. I had served with the Tennessee Democratic Party for 2 years prior to that. Where my story started. So in 2021, I decided I suffered a miscarriage as a result of an IUD failure. And that experience left me kind of scarred, and just all the decisions that come into that. Miscarried, found out a month later I was pregnant again, and that's how I got my beautiful second child. But 4 months after I gave birth, I was on maternity leave. The almost total abortion ban went through in Tennessee, and I was livid. And so I did the only natural thing, which was to pick up my phone, create a TikTok, become the friendly neighborhood liberal, and then become county chair in one of the 93 counties at the time. Now we have all 95 counties represented by the Democratic Party. And then I found out my opponent was going to run unopposed in 2024, and I said, over my dead body, and here we are.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the makeup of your district. Obviously, if he's running unopposed, it must be a fairly heavily red district.
It is we are a rural district. We have 15 counties, but we don't touch any of the major cities. I don't touch Chattanooga. I don't touch Knoxville, Nashville, or Memphis. So it is a very rural district, farmer-centric district. It has been represented by Representative Scott Desjarlais since 2012, and it was gerrymandered that way. After the 2020 election, they gerrymandered Nashville into 3 congressional districts, and my district also saw that congressional change where we lost some counties and gained some new counties. And consequently, we have a supermajority in the state of Tennessee. So not only do we have a supermajority in our state assembly and state senate houses, we also have a supermajority in our federal level representation, as well as in our governorship, because Bill Lee is just super fun. So this is an interesting thing to put into perspective when you're looking at Tennessee. As well as we're 51st in voter turnout. So it's not like voters in Tennessee are showing up. And then, like you all saw, we had the Tennessee District 7 race where we saw huge gains. And that's what we learned in 2024 with my election. I was the first progressive to ever run in this district. We've never not had a representative, a challenger on the ballot, but I was the first progressive ever to run. And even though I lost, and I ran my race in 5 months, worked full time. So I was campaigning over the weekends mostly, or working my schedule because I work remotely in the tech industry. I've been in the tech industry for 5 years. I was able to make great gains in grounding in a way that we hadn't seen in the race. So before I even knew those numbers, I'd already decided to run about 15 seconds after I found out I lost in 24. And here we are.
Awesome.
Well, it does look like it's an interesting district. Is it like 70% of the votes in 2022 were like Republican and 30% Democrat? So that's a pretty big, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a lot.
It's a
Republican
plus 22
share
district.
Yeah.
And some of those counties, but like I said, it's we're 51st in voter turnout. So that's a lot of disenfranchised voters that we have, as well as Tennessee has some of the weirdest laws when it comes to getting your voter registration, or like getting your ability to vote back after committing a federal crime. So one of the reasons that we have such a struggle that disproportionately affects Black, Brown, and Indigenous people is that you are required to get your gun license back before you can get your voter rights back. And we all know that that's really hard. And we do have lawyers fighting this in the state of Tennessee. But again,
what if you never had a gun license? You gotta go get a gun license to get a voter registration? Like, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know the nuances of the law, but I mean, yeah, that's a valid point.
That would be a wild, and I would feel like very illegal requirement for voter registration. No, it's interesting. So you're a plus 22 district, red. As of, I'm assuming that was your last race was plus 22, or was it the presidential election? Then I'm assuming went plus 22 for Trump.
Yeah, plus 22 in my district. Now, I always tell people I was my first time candidate, no name recognition. I was able to do that in 5 months. Most congressional candidates start running about a year out. So when you see moves like what Afton Bain did, now Afton had some name recognition because she's a state senate representative. I didn't have that. So we look at all those numbers, and this is why I do a lot of voter education, because I don't think a lot of people know what goes into even just pulling up a petition and becoming a candidate on the ballot.
Well, but Afton's district was plus 22 as well, right?
Yes, hers was closer to a 22-point margin. Mine is a little bit higher than that, because it's just considered plus 22, because it would be depressing if you see some of the counties, they're plus 50. And you look at that and you're like, oh, well, there's no hope. But that's not the case, because that's only the voters that show up. And when you only have 10% of voters showing up, there's ground to be had there.
I got it.
You said 50.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. 51st is a
how
weird thing to say.
How are you 51st? There's 50 states, and you somehow
worse
managed
than Puerto
to drop
Rico,
below,
worse
territories
than DC?
that don't have actual real representatives that can vote on stuff, and they're turning out higher than Tennessee is. Man,
do you want to hear the worst part? If you go into any election commission in the state of Tennessee, we have a little sign that we put up that says #1 in voter election integrity. And every time I see that, I can't help but laugh so hard. I was like, tell me your voter suppression is legit without telling me your voter suppression is legit.
I mean, to get 51st, I'm sure they're very proud of that incredibly low number. They're like, man, if we could just now get below Guam, that would be great.
If you ain't first, you're last. And if you're last, be proud.
Up a little bit. Yeah, okay. If you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby. But I mean, I think we've moved up a little bit, but still, it's 48. We're not doing much better. That's not a big move. And it's really sad, because there's something like 200, if all 200,000 registered Democrats in the state of Tennessee would actually show up and vote, we would have not a super majority anymore.
Right.
But we can't get them to come to the table. So how do we get them to the polls?
I mean, it is wild to me too, because you're the volunteer state, and it seems really, you're the volunteer state because your state volunteered the most people to go to another state to fight for slavery. In the Texas Spanish. Wait, what war was that? I don't know.
In the Civil War?
No. It was during the Alamo. Alamo.
Mexican American War.
The Mexican-American War, because Mexico is so Texas, you can still be doing your Texas stuff here within the country of Mexico, but no more slaves. We're gonna stop doing that because Mexico was still more advanced than us back then, and Texas was oh fuck no. But Texas, despite all of their bragging about how big and tough they are, needed other people to come fight their battles for them, and still lost at the Alamo and haven't shut the fuck up about it for 200 years. But no, that was where the volunteer state thing came from. Was Tennessee sent the most volunteers to that particular valiant effort there to keep brown people enslaved.
That's right.
But you know,
I'm surprised you knew that, Jordan. Though, to add a little bit more knowledge, that little tidbit of Tennessee history, apparently it started volunteer states like term, like that kind of like whatever nickname, actually started the War of 1812. And then it was only solidified in the Mexican-American War. So now you know.
Interesting.
Good to
I think
know.
I missed that because I think I missed that history lesson because I was getting kicked out of history class.
I was like, don't you love that you've got a couple Minnesota boys out here informing you about your state motto that you are currently running for Congress in?
It's true. Well,
I mean, I did Google it, so.
I'm still considered a transplant by Tennessee standards. As you can tell, I don't have a Tennessee accent. We moved to Tennessee in 2007 from, I've lived all over the South. In fact, I lived in San Antonio too. So I did know the history. I just didn't coordinate that with Tennessee. So yeah, we moved right before I started high school here, which was really interesting because I would have gone to a high school in, just outside of, it's Lilburn, Georgia, which would have had 4,000 students to a high school population of 1,000 students. And that was jarring by all standards. It was very interesting. As someone who's always lived in the South, I've never been told I sound like a Northerner more.
Oh my God!
I wouldn't say.
Okay.
Yeah. I could. There's like a little bit of accent, like it's kind of coming in, a little bit, at least compared to my Minnesota ears, but it's not like a full Southern accent for sure. But that's gotta be tough.
Put the British on.
The British,
because my dad's an immigrant, so my dad's English, and I definitely have a bit of an English accent or a cadence.
Okay.
So do they call you Yankee down there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of times. I got in a lot of trouble in high school for my accent because I didn't do Southern things like say please ma'am and no sir. Those kind of things got me in trouble in high school. Also, correcting them in history class got me kicked out of class a lot.
No, I went to college in Bristol. It's technically Bristol, Virginia, but it borders Bristol, Tennessee. Twin cities there, Tri-City area, and that was the first time anybody ever told me. I didn't think that people from the Midwest and Minnesota had an accent at all. That was the first time anybody, because half my childhood was in South Florida too, so nobody in Florida ever told me I had an accent, but as soon as I got to Tennessee, they're like, "Oh yeah, you talk funny." And I'm like, "Really? That's where you want to go with this? Is I'm the one who's talking funny here? I don't understand half the shit that's coming out of your mouth." But,
well, you know what? You want to know why you didn't have an accent living in South Florida?
Why?
Because Florida's the only state you have to go north to go south.
This is true. Yeah, North Florida is definitely the South, and South Florida is, well, North Cuba, basically.
Exactly.
But no, and then they'd call me a Yankee all the time, and I'd get under their skin because I'm like, where I'm from, we pronounce it winter, and they didn't like that very much.
That's the only proper response, I think.
I was like, it's weird how different dialects. You say Yankee, I say winter.
It's like you say Reagan.
Yeah. Reagan. No, I get shit for that all the time in my videos. I'm like,
it didn't bother me ever.
What's is it Ragan?
I don't know. I don't hear me saying it wrong. Everybody else just apparently hears me saying it different. So
Ragan?
Nuclear is another one. People get on me about nuclear.
Okay, nuclear is a bit embarrassing. I mean, come on, that's like a middle school,
Well, I get in trouble because I say aluminium.
The phonetic pronunciation of it, that's how it's pronounced. I don't understand. And when other people are like, it's not pronounced nuclear, it's pronounced nuclear, and I'm like, I don't hear the difference of what you're saying. It's just like, it's not Leviosa, it's Leviosa. I'm like, I don't fucking know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, it's such a millennial thing to do. I love that I'm on the podcast with two millennials, and you did your little intro. And I was like, yeah, I'm millennial trash, too.
Jordan, just to put this to bed for once and for all, I Googled it, and it's nuclear.
That's what I said. That's literally what I said. Nuclear.
No, you said
Like, how is it different? I don't understand.
you said nuclear. You said nuclear, not nuclear.
Nuclear.
There you go. You got it now. Just
People are
say that.
whatever.
Say that in your sleep,
Honestly,
and eventually you'll get it.
anytime I do, because I do my science videos every Friday, and I've done a lot on nuclear atomic stuff just because I find it interesting. Yep, and like at this point, like half my comments will be about that, and then like I'll just make a comment about it at the beginning of the video. I'm like, this is gonna piss like half of you off the way I say this. And like half the comments will be like, I don't hear anything wrong with it, and others just like people just really angry about the way that I say this one particular word, and I'm like, whatever, it's engagement, I guess. But
that's on the comments.
Yeah, it's a cheap way to get engagement, I suppose.
Yeah. Anyway, back to your campaign in Tennessee sports.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about Tennessee's 7th district, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Because, like, people are like, hey, you know,
it's not as hopeless as we thought.
Yeah, well, and I made a whole video about this where I talk about it's not hopeless. Like, what she did in that amount of time with 2 months to run for office, which is nothing, you know, especially in a congressional race, she grew every single rural district. And the biggest county, which is considered flippable, Montgomery County, she grew as well. If not, could flip it going into 2026. So these are huge numbers, and Republicans are patting themselves on the back, being like, we won, blah, blah, blah. But they don't learn anything when they lose. They did like 50 years ago, and then they started implementing those things. And that's why we have these super majorities. They've been instrumental and calculated in how they've taken over the South. So what we see with Afton's race is a clear path to victory, which is progressive policies and just talking to working class people and fighting back and not being, you know, not being afraid to say, hey, that's unacceptable. You can't say that anymore, and making them cry a little bit.
Yeah. No, I love making them cry.
Oh, I know.
Fun story. One of our state representatives the other day was interviewed after Trump, because Trump's been attacking our state recently with, you know, a little more attention than normal, and specifically going after the Somali community, which we have the largest in the country of the Somali community here. And so he's been doing his normal racist shit, and he said, like, you know, Somali people are garbage, and a local reporter asked a few Republican state reps if they endorsed that statement, and most of them were like, well, like, no, I don't endorse that. Like, obviously we shouldn't make blatant statements about whatever, but, you know, yada, 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 whatever their talking points are going to be about, like, why it's still important to be sending ICE after Somali people. But Mary Franson had a complete crash out when he asked her this question. She's like, that's such a stupid question. Why would you ask me that question? It's a horrible question. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, total crash out. And so I made a video specifically for her with that interview clip, and then gave everybody her, you know, social media and email and phone contact information. And then I emailed her myself on Saturday morning, and she emailed me back like minutes later from her iPhone, because it said from my iPhone in the bottom, telling me that I'm like mentally or I'm unhinged and I need to take a mental health day. And it was like, lady, you are responding to a troll, not even a constituent, just somebody trolling you, and you are an elected official. I don't think you're in a position to be telling other people to make take a mental health day right now. And I posted all that. I posted the screenshots of the emails up on Instagram and Facebook and tagged her in it. And then she actually put my email in her story because she thought I was the one who looked bad in this particular situation. And then she started deleting all of her comments, and then limited her comments so people couldn't respond. So I think she had a bad time. So yeah, making them cry is always, you know, I very much do enjoy that.
I've been educating my entire district to the point that we actually got our state senator to stop doing her town hall meetings because she was so tired of people going into the meetings after I started recording things and reporting on what she was saying. So we have a state senator. Her name is Janice Bowling. She is a very special special human being who absolutely adores me, and by absolutely adores, she hates me.
Yeah.
And she's friends with my
She adores
opponent,
you in the
Scott
bless
Dusty.
your heart type of Southern way of adoring you. Yeah.
And she is friends with my opponent, Scott Desjardins. So I know I'm circling the wagons around him because she, the last time I interacted with her, my fundraiser, who lived in DC at the time, got a phone call and said that people around the state were talking about what I had made her do in the meeting. And I'm pretty sure that was the meeting where I have a video here on TikTok, basically where I recorded her saying that human rights are not protected in the Constitution. And then I cited a law in Tennessee which basically says that if you knowingly or unknowingly in the state of Tennessee help an undocumented person, you can be held liable. Like with a charge or with a crime, and I can't remember. I think it was a felony charge, which felt very intentional to me.
Yeah.
And she said with her whole chest that it wasn't protected in the Constitution, and I was just like, well, you're wrong, and the Constitution would tell you. And she was like, I don't think you know the Constitution. Maybe you shouldn't run for office. I was like, pot meet kettle. Like, no. I just don't care. I told her in another meeting that, we were her employer, and that if she was going to continue talking to the class that way, that we were going to hold her accountable because it was unacceptable to be that way. She also said that she has freckles, so she knows what it's like to be black. So unpack that however you want to. I got that one as well.
That's a wild stretch right there.
So, this big a stretch, or just screen's not big enough for that one.
Yeah, I mean, she's a sweet old lady who happens to have a platform now, and I'm just making it more public. Because I've heard that the Republican Party is looking to replace her, and I really hope that it was me, because I would totally send her my face on tell Cersei it was me, like from my congressional email account.
Yes.
Like it's worth it.
100%. No, I love that energy, and I think that's the energy we need. I mean, I think it's the energy that especially like disenfranchised and disgruntled Democrat voters especially have been looking for representatives to step up and like, fuck precedent, let's play hardball by the same rules that they've been playing this entire time. And we're smarter than them, so we should be better at this game than them. And how have we been so fucking bad at this game? So it's exciting to see. And like, obviously there's a lot going into the shifts and the overperformance of progressives historically here, but I think that's one of the things is people like yourself are willing to get out there and bully bullies, which is what we need to be doing, and I think people are responding really positively to that. It's interesting like how you talk about gerrymandering, because right next door to us, Wisconsin is statistically the most purple state in the country, right? They've got basically a 50-50 split, but are close to, if not still have a supermajority. Because I think
it's like 70%. Yeah, 70% still Republican.
And a lot of that stuff, a lot of that type of gerrymandering is test bedded in Wisconsin to see if it'll be effective other places, and has been in places like Tennessee. But with Afton Bain's campaign here, it was really exciting to see that these gains can be made, and to go from plus 22 to plus 8. That's what it was, right?
Yeah, there's a plus 8. I mean, so that's within 10, anything less than 10 points is flippable. And that was a special election, which has even less voter turnout.
Yeah.
And watching Afton do what she did. I mean, she was an organizer. Like, she organizes her district, and was able to win her seat. And that's like her bread and butter. Like, she started as an activist, getting that famous picture that the Republicans were talking about, a hysterical woman crying on the floor, was because they were voting to keep a literal predator on the floor, a person who was caught, with child explicit material, if I'm remembering correctly. And she's crying because they weren't going to vote him out of office. Remove him from the assembly. So when people put up that picture, it's like, oh, so you do in fact want to protect pedophiles because
Yeah.
here's this situation where we have this rampant in our state house, and you're laughing at her, like
Mm-hmm.
because she's crying because you see her get arrested. So like this was her, um, her launch into political activism and then the political ring. And I'm so happy to have been a part of her decision to run for Congress because we talked about this offline. I was with her and she pulled me aside, talking about how great I am. We've met a couple of times. And then she said, hey, I've been asked to run in the special election. I immediately lit up. I was like, yes, you're the right person. We need a progressive woman who's a fighter and an activist ready to do this. And, we talked about it a little bit. And I was like, just ask me any questions. I'm happy to walk you through all of it. I'll introduce you to whoever I can, like utilizing my small but mighty platform and the people I've been able to meet, to give her those connections. And then she did, and she won the primary, which I was thrilled. And I wasn't surprised. But here's this young progressive woman proving that a moderate candidate wouldn't have gotten those gains. If moderation won, my district would have already flipped back in 2020. We had a very moderate person run for office, Chris Hale, and he could have gained ground, but he didn't. He literally ran on the most conservative moderate platform you could, and he's a great guy. Like, I know him. But this is that thing. Our district was blue up until 2008, and then it was gerrymandered this way, which tells me that Republicans did that down ballot initiative where they started funding those county commissioners or school boards and grooming. And I hate that word so much now.
No.
Thanks to the
It's a
Republican
good word.
Party.
It's a perfect word for them. They're it's a party full of groomers. So
it is, and it's hard. It comes off my tongue now. But they groomed these candidates. It was a down ballot red initiative in 2010, 2011, 2012, and it worked. What we saw was a flip red, and then they gerrymandered the state, and they've made it incredibly hard for candidates to run for office. We talk a lot about money out of politics. I talk about it, money out of politics, and how often that doesn't include candidates because the whole system is working exactly as it's intended. It's making it harder and harder for working class people to be represented, to be able to run for office and afford living. So you're not seeing those working class people show up. And consequently, we're in this nice little gerrymander state, which we're making moves to move that needle and push it forward and flip these seats because they don't expect it. My opponent does absolutely no work in our district. He will not. He's been caught on it in closed door sessions saying if he speaks to constituents, he loses votes, and that is true because I have Republican people who support my run for office. In fact, when our trip to DC, I text my lawyer who I met at a rally who offered his services, who's a Republican, who adores me. And I texted him, I was like, hey, going to DC. He's like, here's all the things you can't do if you get arrested, because we always joke that I might get arrested, especially after annoying Janice Bowling in my district. So, I mean, my opponent, I haven't said anything about him. So he's most famously known, Scott DesJourlais, is most famously known for pulling a gun on his wife and forcing her to get an abortion. He has forced two other partners to get abortions. One, while as a doctor, I can't remember if he was from Wisconsin. No, it was Missouri. I think he's from Missouri. Maybe. Anyway, he lost or had to give up his medical license because he was trading medicine for relations with patients. That's how he had some of these abortions. He has been voted by a conservative magazine the worst conservative politician in DC. And he just doesn't show up for his district. He mainly only goes to friendly events. 90% of his donations are corporation or large dollar, whereas I'm right the opposite. I'm about 95% small dollar donations. So it's just polar opposites. And, I think it's time for him to leave office because he sounds like a typical Republican, but also we deserve better.
Man, I mean that should be, if there's anything to sell the pro-life crowd on there, forcing women to get abortions at gunpoint Sounds basically like the thing that they pretend Planned Parenthood does exclusively all of the time is just like go out in the streets and just find pregnant women and like hold them at gunpoint and make them get an abortion right there on the spot. Like that sounds.
Yeah, I mean,
I,
holding somebody at gunpoint is almost doing, post birth abortion. So,
mm-hmm.
just one
Yeah.
finger pull away.
I
Yeah.
mean, it is. It is. They'll probably enjoy the holding women at gunpoint thing. I think Tennessee people very much love the idea of being able to hold women at gunpoint. Love guns, not women so much. But the abortion part, you just make sure that you get that in there, and that could set them right. I'm never no. You know what? I am always still amazed by the hypocrisy, and I shouldn't be at this point. I really shouldn't be. But always, it never ceases to amaze me, like the lengths of hypocrisy that they will go to, and just straight face, like these are the things I believe in, and I do not live that in any way, shape, or form for my life is just wild.
Yeah, he says he's reformed.
Yeah, reformed. Yeah, they're always reformed. Yeah, until the next one. Speaking of donations,
Just like
do you
Matt
take any
Gates
corporate PAC money?
reformed too.
No, I do not take corporate PAC money. I was the only federal candidate in Tennessee to sign a pro-peace pledge that I would not take APAC money and that I would speak out against what was going on in, Palestine. Because I would explain it online. I was like, hey, we can acknowledge that we have an ally. We can also acknowledge that what they're doing is unacceptable. And as an ally, we should hold them attainable. I always quote that scene from Love Actually, where we talk about the bully and bullies only respond to strength, and that we need to utilize that and take action that way. And I think that kind of throws people because they're expecting me to just go one way or the other, and I'm like, no, we can acknowledge both sides and
Yeah.
talk about the inhumane things going on in Palestine. And it didn't hinder me. A lot of people said that it would hinder my race run for office, and it didn't. I didn't have any issues with that because I was able to talk about it. Just, we talked about guns. I'm a gun owner. And we have 2 weapons. They're locked up safely. I'm good at what I do. When I get threatened on lives on TikTok, I'm like, show up at my house. It's a stand your ground state. I would love for you to show up. Because 1, I want to break these molds. And 2, we have a duty and a responsibility as politicians, because I'm one of those now, to understand what's going on in our country and what people are feeling, and then make our policy and change based on that. So, like, I'm a gun owner. It's my job as a gun owner to be the responsible gun owner. I'm the good guy with the gun, so I need to be voting in policies that also benefit those who might not own them, or our children, making sure our schools are safe. Because as someone who's got a 5-year-old in kindergarten, it's terrifying when we get those calls. And I'm one of those. I was a public school kid. My bank account does not work like private school, so my children will be in public school. Why not make it better for all of them, not just for some of them?
Good. Have you had issues on gun policy then as a platform? Obviously, in a very conservative state, it's something. If I was running in that state, just a policy in general, I'd probably shy away from completely, because you go one way and you're going to piss off Democrats. You go the other way and you're going to piss off, moderates who would potentially vote for you, but that's an important issue, especially in rural areas. I live in a very rural area, and gun rights and gun ownership is top of the list for many people who hunt and consider themselves sportsmen. And just, I mean, it's a cultural thing, and I think it's something that is often lost in the translation on this policy topic. Is the reason that in my opinion, we burn on the left so much political capital attacking this is because you take people who are not gun owners, who don't have that cultural history of, like, a lot of guns are family heirlooms that have been passed down from great grandpa and grandpa and stuff like that. And so when you take somebody who has no understanding of, like, the way that fits into the culture of people that they just generally don't understand, and then you're just like, yeah, no, like, we would like to vote to restrict the rights that you enjoy that don't affect me at all because I don't, own these things. It's something that I think is a difficult line to walk in rural districts, especially that lean conservative, or in your case are very solidly conservative.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely something that I get. That is when a conservative talks to me, normally that's the first thing out of their mouth. They want to know. And I'm like, I'm an owner. I've got two at home. I go to the range. Well, our range is closed currently because people weren't taking care of it. We live in a rural county and yeah, all that. But it's, that tends to help them. And I'm just like, look, I'm just coming from it as a responsible gun owner. I don't want to take your guns away. I normally start out by saying that because I think there's this misconception that we're just going to like rip them away from you, and no one's going to do that. Kamala Harris owned one. Gloria Johnson talked about how she owns one. She's part of the Tennessee Three, and yeah, I utilized the way she talked about it as well because I'm a newer gun owner. We've only had them in our home. But as someone with two small children, I'm like, no, we need to make safe storage a thing because it should be easy. Actually, it's notable. We have a candidate for governor that you can buy it's like a special lock for specifically in your car. And I can't remember all the details. I just remember her talking about this over the weekend. But you just basically, it's like a $20 thing. You give it to them. And if they're in their car, it's a safe way to lock your firearm while when you're in the car and leaving it in the car, which Tennessee has. One of our number one problems is gun theft out of cars. And if we have these safe locks, then it allows for less violence in those areas. So I think that's really interesting. Like, these are things that we can build off of and hopefully, make people a little less afraid of rules that, I think it's the same, that everyone reacts the same to seatbelt laws. Like, that's the best comparison is like, seatbelts are added to cars and they used to say it was a violation and all those things. And, it makes you safer.
I mean, I'll be honest, seatbelt laws are something I disagree with. And it's not
classic Jordan libertarian take there.
I don't know. Well, it's one of those things that I feel like seatbelt laws were put in place for the wrong reasons. I think it was done to protect insurance companies' profits and allow the government to exploit people in something that they shouldn't legally be allowed to nanny state on. And I'm not like I'm an advocate for wearing seatbelts. Like, everybody should wear a seatbelt, but making that a legal requirement is wild, especially when every state's different, but like my state, you're not required to wear a helmet on a motorcycle. So you're gonna tell me that I can get a ticket, like I can be punished by the government for not wearing a seatbelt in a 7,000-pound truck, but a guy on a crotch rocket with nothing between him and the pavement but hopes and dreams can do that with no helmet completely legally. And it's like, so clearly this wasn't ever about public safety. This was about, financial reasons, either for government revenue and or insurance lobbying. So for that bugs me. And again, it's not like a hill I'm gonna go die on or anything. Like, obviously seatbelt lives still save lives, and like that's a good thing and overall net positive. I just think like ethically and morally ambiguous there as to why they were, especially because people can smoke, people can eat fast food, they can do all kinds of things that are bad for their health or potentially, dangerous. But why is this one thing the thing that the government gets to fine us on?
That's an interesting, I'm going to use that to pivot because I think it is interesting and it does need to be talked about because, you make a great point. And like, this is one of those things that needs to be brought up. We tend to talk about lobbying in our government and how corporations have been able to infiltrate these areas and contribute to a system that negatively affects and disproportionately affects working class people who are going to be in their cars going to work and whatnot. And this is one of those conversations where it's so multifaceted that I think a lot of like rural voters sometimes shut down their understanding. And this is how do we break it down? How do we make every single person understand that this is a system and that we're having to work within the confines of a system? And then also, how do we effectively move the needle and make change that makes sense and that doesn't make a corporation make more money or, disproportionately affect an entire industry by ruining it? So like, it's walking that fine line.
Yeah. No. So have you had pretty good luck, do you feel like? Because I know the difference between Afton Bain's district and yours is Afton Bain at least did have, Tennessee 7 does have parts of Nashville, parts that are more populated, bluer, and if you can get that turnout from those areas, I mean, she could win or lose based on what is it, Davidson County, basically.
Yes.
Do you have that ability in your district where there's an area you can focus on and make it flippable or get it within, a realistic range, or do you feel that this is more about changing the culture of allowing people to run unopposed and abandoning districts that feel unwinnable, which is incredibly important, even if that's the case. Even if you go into a race knowing there's, no way in hell you can win, I think part of the problem, especially for rural voters, is they feel disenfranchised. If there's nobody for them to even go to the ballot and vote for, there's nobody, the party isn't putting any effort into trying to represent them, and therefore that just allows them to shift to the right, because people either feel like their voice clearly doesn't matter to the people who would be asking them for their vote in other elections. There might not be a congressperson, but you still need those people to show up for president. You still need those people to show up for Senate. And so I think it's important either way. So I don't want to put that in the context of, it's a lost cause for your race. Potentially, it's still incredibly important to be doing what you're doing. But is it a lost cause, so to speak, or do you see avenues to make this a competitive or flippable district?
We do see avenues. When I signed up in 2024, it was a lot. It was putting my name on the ballot, and my only goal during that, when you're running for office, you have to have an attainable goal, and mine was move the needle. I just knew running a race in 5 months with no name recognition, only being a county chair in one of the counties in the district, because I had 15 counties in the district, and what would my race look like, because I was working full time and I had at the time 2-year-old and a 4-year-old that I was, taking care of, and I had foster animals, and, how does this race look better? And, initially a lot of Democrats were like, are you the pick? And I was like, well, you wouldn't have a candidate on the ballot if I didn't step up. So I just didn't take it. I just kind of was like, okay, cool. There's going to be haters. And I gained respect that way. I was like, I wasn't afraid to be the mom on the ballot who works full time, who's going to get those patriarchal comments being like, we're worried about this. And I was able to make those moves and get ground. I mean, no one wanted a progressive running, but I can't tell you how many times I was out in a rural district talking about livestock or answering questions about money, and people were like, oh, you sound like a moderate. And I was like, that's so funny that you say that. And I'm going to go call my campaign manager 5 seconds after this conversation and tell him that they said that, because that was his whole thing. He was like, if they think you're moderate, that's great. And I was like, yeah, it's great. I'm a progressive. Love that for them. We did see gains. We were able to see, we have a county in our district, Rutherford County, which I got 55,000 votes in. That is the biggest county in my district, and it actually swings the district left or right. And it is traditionally more blue. There are precincts in that district that I won, as well as Kamala won. So we have ground there. So what we have a whole field campaign that we're going forward with. We have a lot of strategic ways that we're going to, and because I'm a mom and a penny pincher, I can do this with less money than they can now as a small dollar donations. I would love to quit my job and do this full time. But that's not an option right now. And I love a challenge. As an ex-athlete, I played soccer in high school. I think that gave me some of that grit of, I'm not afraid to get knocked down and stand back up. And that's what we need in this district. We need a fighter. And what I'm learning so far is 5 months with the gains that I was able to make. What would happen if I ran for 2 years and close that gap even more? What would that give me? What would I get it with a national name presence, which is why I was in DC and making these connections. And we're seeing the fruition of that. We're seeing more people showing up to hear me speak. I'm seeing young people show up. I can't tell you how many older parents I get who show up and they're like, my kid loves you, so I had to come out and listen to you. And, even independent voters who were like, I have an independent voter, he ran for office here, and he's like, my daughter talks nonstop about you, like all the time. She finds you so amazing and just what you're able to do and they're like, they love your TikTok content and whatnot. And yeah, like it just creates this way of like excitement. I'm a millennial, but I'm a mom and I have all these interests, and yeah, do I get to hang out with really cool people in DC? Absolutely I do. But come take a picture with me. Like
Hmm.
let's talk about it. Let's chit chat. Let's talk about legalizing marijuana because, we need to have those conversations, and it's been really fun. So we've got a big plan. I know I've got a huge margin to grow, but I'm not afraid of a challenge, and I'm not afraid of a potato that doesn't want to debate me.
Well, and that's really important, and I think that this is where you deserve more national name recognition for being an inspiration to run in districts that feel unwinnable and to run even though you're just a regular working class person. This has been thankfully, like, my district hasn't been left unopposed yet, but we haven't had like we've had great people who would have been absolutely great at the job running my district if they got elected, but unfortunately, being a good candidate and being a good elected official are two totally different things. Like, and very often, unfortunately, they don't go together very well.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's really good at winning a popularity contest is often just awful at actually doing the job that they were elected to do. And so it's getting candidates that are not only just getting candidates to run, because running unopposed, again, I feel like disenfranchises so many voters, and I feel like the Democratic Party has really dropped the ball on that, especially in places where the Republican Party has been focusing super hard on grooming. Going back to schools, they love
Oh,
grooming in schools. That's really where they love to go. So school board, they've been
yeah.
focusing on school board races, city council, stuff like that, across. And a lot of these are like nonpartisan races, right?
Hmm.
Nonpartisan. And the fact that the Democratic establishment has just kind of like allowed that to happen has allowed this huge amount of infrastructure and candidate pools to just be built up in all of the places that Democrats have ignored. And that's both of our districts. And so I think like showing that fine, fuck them. We can do it without it. We can do it without like the big money.
Hmm.
We can do it
And we
without.
can
You
do
don't
it with
have.
a
Yeah,
middle finger to the DNC sometimes because,
exactly.
I think
Hmm.
that that's really good to highlight right here is so I've worked in customer service basically
Hmm.
my entire life, whether it's a tiny human customer service because, I've substituted, I worked as a barista, I worked, in housing, I've worked as for international domestic logistics. I actually had my two of my jobs were affected by tariff rules, which led me to work in the tech industry. I work literally my job. I always see this at events when I'm like with a bunch of boomers, and they're like, we're sitting down, and I'm like, I'm trying to explain my job, and I was like, I'm the person who asked you to turn it off and on again,
Hmm.
and big laugh every time with boomers. They love that. It makes sense to them, but it's customer service. That's what this job is. I wasn't a candidate. I absolutely despise public speaking. So I had to go from doing none of that to becoming a public speaker to being able to rattle off my stump speech to being able to effectively run a congressional campaign, having never run one before. It was a literal on the ground. My campaign manager was also running for state house here in Tennessee, and he and I did a lot of the work ourselves. I built my website from a template on Squarespace, and I still edit my website. And a lot of people are like, "Wait, you do that?" We get a lot of people asking about graphics. I was like, my campaign manager and I bounce back and forth off of each other to do that. If someone emails me, I'm answering that email. It's me or my campaign manager. We're a small but mighty staff. My treasurer is just a Democrat who she got guilted into being my treasurer because she's the reason I ran for office because she was the district chair at that point, and she loves it. She's so great at it. But I mean, these are the things that we allow that help build these things up. And I do a lot of voter education around county parties and why it's so important to be involved. And if you don't like the Democratic Party, you don't like what they're saying, get involved, because one of the things I did mention is I'm on the Tennessee State Executive Committee for the Democratic Party, and we are making progressive movement. When I got called to be appointed to that seat because the position went vacant because the previous person, she actually called me and said, will you do this? I want you. And I got so many calls from state members all over the state being like, please join the executive committee. We want another progressive here. We want to hear your voice. And I think we see the fruition of that. coming up with our state chair, Rachel Campbell, our our vice chair, Nathan Higdon, because they stepped up and they helped Afton's race. That was a coordinated campaign that we saw. The Tennessee Democratic Party, executive committee, local parties were all involved. We did that, and as a congressional candidate, I was knocking doors for her as well, and people were asking me why, and I'm like, well, I believe in Afton. I believe in this message, and I'm learning on the job as well. I'm learning about what she's doing, and in fact, I've already got her field director teed up for next year to work with me, because one, I already had a relationship with him from 24, but two, I was like, no, I want you, and this is what we're going to do. What can I do to get you on board? And he was like, I'll do it. I got you. And these are those things that create. So if people say that the Democratic Party can't be changed, no, it can be. You just have to do it from the inside, because we are a two-party system. Whether you like that or not, there is no clear path for a third party to go to office. So the only way to do that is to treat it like public transportation. Get on the bus and going in the direction you want to go. You have two parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. If you want to start your third party, go ahead and get elected as that party on a local ballot and move your way up. I mean, that it's going to be a slow roll, because I mean, it's a good enema, but it's a slow enema. Like the way we can do it right now is getting involved in the parties that we already have that are established and creating change, because change can happen. You just have to get involved.
No. Jill Stein, one of these times, she just shows up, gets thawed out every 4 years. One of these times, though, after she comes out of her Russian cold storage storage unit in 2028, it's going to be her year, I bet.
She's a cicada. She's just a cicada who comes out screaming every 4 years, and I cannot stand her. I'm like, no, unacceptable. Do not vote for Jill Stein. And it's funny, I do political stuff. Before this, when I was the Friendly Neighborhood Liberal, I would take the political spectrum test, and I showed my results. And Jill Stein was like at the top for 2020 for me to vote for. And I was like, you got me fucked up. Absolutely the fuck not. Those are my two buzzwords for this entire one.
Left-wing grifter, just because she's a grifter doesn't mean that things she says don't actually align with left-wing values. But enema is the best way I think you can describe her. At first I was like, I bet they'd prefer to be described as like a juice cleanse or something like that. But then enema and Jill Stein, I was like, yeah, actually, enema is more appropriate.
Gotta clear the shit out.
Yep.
So I got 3. My campaign manager is going to hear this and be like, you cussed 3 times, Victoria. My goal, I get a special drink if I don't cuss a single time in my speeches.
Well, you'll have to let us know what it is, and we'll buy one for you just to make up for this.
Bourbon. It's bourbon. So, fun fact: I live in the Bourbon District, or whiskey, Tennessee whiskey. So,
I was gonna say, ooh, man, you just lost your entire campaign there. You're in Tennessee, and you called Tennessee whiskey bourbon, man. The Kentucky's gonna invade too after that comment.
Kentucky's gonna come after me. Okay. Well, so I like Tennessee whiskey. I like a single barrel Jack Daniel's barrel proof. I like George Dickel. George Dickel is a good daily sipper. Uncle Nearest is Chef's Kiss. These are all in my district. So I'm literally in whiskey district, and I love that for me, especially when I get asked bourbon questions. In a previous life, I helped a friend run Bourbon Blind and, got to grow his social media platform. That was like my claim to fame prior to running for office is I grew up an entire bourbon channel on TikTok that was there, and it was a lot of fun. But it's been an education in the district, and I'm a nice little whiskey drinker. So if you want to buy me a bottle, I wear a size George Dickel 8 year. Thank you.
Speaking of your social media as well, have you found that has helped with your campaigning efforts? I mean, I really feel like elected officials and people campaigning for elected office have been very slow to effectively, especially on the Democratic side, been very slow to effectively adopt social media. And obviously you've embraced social media from long before you ran for office. And obviously I think that's part of the reason that we even know who each other is at this point. And,
Yeah, we
um,
know because of a bearded white man on TikTok. We know each
yeah.
other because of that. Because, yeah, no, it became a huge. It was part of my social media, but I've grown it from. I think, but when I started running for office, I had like 500 followers, and I've grown it to 15,000 now, and it's still growing every single day. Because TikTok's not the same place it is. And I've got an Instagram now. Those all came basically after I decided to run for Congress.
Oh.
But yeah, I've been able to make really interesting connections. Specifically, USMC Angry Veteran. He has become a really good friend. I've met him several times, but because of him, I met Jolly Good Ginger. I met Mandy, Good Trouble. I've met you. I've met so many. Will Westmoreland. I actually met Will Westmoreland because of USMC, because we watched the DNC live together. There was the 4 days, and we got his views to like 4.1 million likes, like
That's
on
awesome.
one night of the DNC. And that was like the whole long story. But because of it, I ended up having Will had to pay out in a voter donation list to me because he made a bet and we succeeded. So, I mean, I've been able to do that. I've been up on Michael Cohen's lives. Michael Cohen knows who I am, which feels really weird. But these are things like, when we're doing voter outreach and going into these spaces, we're able to make these contacts that might make no difference. But for me, it's made all the difference because, Good Trouble put my shirt on one of the times on his live and almost broke me, but like, because I wasn't expecting it. But I had given him one just as like, oh, hey, here's a shirt. Thanks so much for everything you do. You're great. Cool. I'm
Oh,
gonna
I
go
see
home
how it
now.
is. He gets a shirt, but I didn't get a shirt.
Do you want a
That's fine.
shirt?
It's
What
fine. Yeah,
size do you
no,
wear?
no.
What
It's
size do you
fine.
guys wear? I'm
I'm
gonna
a medium.
look. Vic Myers is gonna watch this, and he's gonna be like, "I didn't get a shirt," and I was like, "Dang it! You got a care package." Okay, well now everybody's getting shirts. Just gonna make a note in my little
See,
notepad.
you
Oh
got
my
to
gosh.
if you can get one in this color, I'll even wear it in videos. So,
Okay, well, we'll talk about that.
all right.
Because I do have a website. I have like where I create my own. Like
Mhm.
my motto for 2026 is "Make America
Mhm.
Safe Again," and I really want to. It's safety, affordability, freedom, and equity, and I talk
Mhm.
about as part of my platform. And part of that, I got the first three letters of the word, and then someone came up to me and said, "Why don't you talk about equity?" And I use it as talking about all boats rising with the tide, and that this is a bottom-up fight, not a right or left fight.
Mhm.
And it's really become a part of my messaging. And I like the idea of saying "Make America Safe Again" with like a big X over great. So
Mhm.
I'm working on that merch right now. But yeah, like social media has been able to allow me to meet people and foster these bonds and grow. I'm friends with Gloria Johnson now. She's one of the Tennessee Three. I've met Justin Jones. I have their phone numbers. When Brett Cross had a situation and got arrested, I immediately called Gloria Johnson and Justin Jones to see if there was anything they could do to help me with, Brett Cross, because, we
Mhm.
all know him. He suffered Uvalde. You were on the tour. But
Mhm.
yeah, like this was a big part of that. So I think it's a
Yeah.
great way, and it gets young people excited, and they like it when I make spicy videos. They like seeing about my life. They like, getting to see my foster kittens because my last litter was named
Spicy videos.
after.
You got a congressional OnlyFans going on over here, or what?
Look, I'm a lot of things. Look, one of my slogans is "I'm fun sized and feral," and I love the idea of I remember saying that in DC, and so many people, like so many creators, are like, "Can you please put that on a shirt?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yes, yes, I can." And it'll be in pink, fun sized and feral, because I'm 5'2" and a half does
Mhm.
count, and I
Mhm.
literally get told that people expect me to be taller. And the second thing, I can't even get my opponent's opponent to debate me. After he cried on
Mhm.
my Facebook page to come to our town hall that we were having, he won't debate me. I literally asked him to debate. He did offer, his caveat was a training course, like a weekend, all expense pays weekend at a training course, like with firearms. And I was like, you know what, I want to do that. But like everyone got concerned that it was like a ploy to like make me less electable. And I was like, if anything, it makes me more electable because
Yeah.
the last thing he's going to want to do is get shown up by a woman when
Mhm.
he's already gotten called out by her.
Well, and it's press, and generally, all
Yeah.
press is good press, and
If I
Yeah.
make it on Fox News, dreams will come true.
I'll tell you what. Because we're in a couple, I think, together, but I'm in so many creator group chats, right? And every so often somebody comes and like shows screenshots in one of these creator group chats about like Fox News like talking about them, or like starts to talk about like Fox News mentioned them on. I'm like, what do I gotta do, man? I've been talking so much shit so loudly for so long, and they ignore me all the damn time. God, like
No,
the
I already have my answer for Fox News, and I'll tell you guys, because I don't care. I'm like, when they tell me I got on my knees to get this position, I just want to be like, you overestimate my skills.
I don't know. I think there's a Bubba joke in there somewhere.
There is. And I just think it's like these brilliant little quips that I come back with that it gets me in a lot. It sometimes gets me in trouble because I'll say something, and I caught lots of live bans in 24 for some of the things I said to Meta. But I impressed Tom Powell online. Like he was like, I was something about letting women finish, and he just was like, he came up on the panel just to talk about me saying that because he thought it was great. And I was like, I'm just not afraid. I've been in boardrooms since I had baby teeth because my dad would take me to meetings. I'm not afraid of a man who thinks he's something, because he's 9 times out of 10 not.
No, I'll do a panel with you, a live panel with you one of these days. That sounds like fun.
It would be fun, get the
I'm
trolls
just inviting
in
myself
there.
on right now. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, we should do it. We should do it. Like, let's have fun. We'll get Will in there, just like make it. Will's witnessed it too, so like he knows. I made a friend there, and he's been amazing, and I keep trying to get him to come to Tennessee because the back 40 could definitely help my district out, because I've got some rural farmers that I have on the campaign like as volunteers. They help like give me information, and they're big fans of you guys.
I will. I'll start pressuring him to get out to your district with some back 40 action there, because yeah, he's been talking about even putting me on the board of back 40, which I haven't agreed to yet. But maybe then I can just tell him this is what we're doing now. And now that you made me a board member, can't kick me off. So
yeah, no, I love that so much. Well, I'm gonna help you remember that pressure. Also, we'll just have fun. We'll just get some creators out here. Just be real fun.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think honestly we're gonna start focusing on doing more, just in general, not even specifically with Back 40, but I've been talking with some other people about doing like fundraisers for Hallie Schaffner running for Senate in Arkansas. So I have a feeling coming up to the midterms we'll be putting in more like creator-led effort, because I think it's being effective, and I think it's been really underutilized, and we can't count on the Democratic Party to really tap us into doing this effectively, because we've told them repeatedly that this needs to be an ongoing thing, not 6 months before an election. Just be like, hey guys, we're just going to throw millions of dollars at all of these creators and make them make really disingenuous content months before an election, and expect it to do the same thing that this right-wing infrastructure that has been doing for decades, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And clearly they're not going to do it. So we're just starting to do it ourselves on the side here. So I would love to come out there and maybe start planning with that. So yeah, let's plan that.
And I'll buy you some whiskey.
Yeah, not bourbon though.
Not bourbon. I know. I'm gonna look. I have a video somewhere on one of my backup accounts of taking a 160 proof sip with no face after another person, like, she posted a video of that, and I was just like, yeah, it's not that hard. I prefer higher proof. Like, I don't understand. It's a Kentucky hug. But yeah, I would love for you to come out, because I think that these are things that we can do, and we can utilize these spaces. I've been able to meet so many constituents who had no idea who I was online, and they show up for me now. I literally have had donations. There was a week that I outpaced and out fundraised just going up on USMC's lives when he was going live every day. I was outpacing by hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was getting $1, $5 donations, I think it was. And every single person who writes me or donates to my campaign gets a handwritten thank you note. Every single person. I handwrite every single one of them. I wrote over 4,000. A lot of writing. It is a lot of writing. And what's sad is one of the candidates for governor, she wanted postcards written. So guess what? 150. I'm going to write 150 postcards for her because I believe in change. And I've got a lot to do.
You need to take a note from Joe Biden and get out the auto pen.
Need one of those. So, because I made it easier on myself with my most recent. So one of the things I said when I was the friendly neighborhood liberal, as it started saying at the end, it was my tagline. It was like, "Stay hydrated, vote blue." So that is on my postcard. I also have another QR code so you can donate more. It goes to my link tree so that you can see everything. And if you guys want to find out more about me, if you're listening, I'm at victoriafortennessee.com or .org, either one. You can also find me at Victoria for Congress TN at TikTok, Victoria for Congress Tennessee. I think it's Victoria for Congress for my Instagram handle. I never know that one. It's always a little bit weirder on the meta. The metaverse is weird.
Yeah, Facebook is.
I got a Facebook. I've got all of them. And if you're on Facebook, you get to see me being spicy in the comments because I just don't care.
Oh yeah, I know. It's trolling people. Honestly, on Threads, I've gotten really into trolling people on Threads. That's been fun. But Facebook comments has been a close second. For the trolling the trolls.
Well, got to tell a troll last week. Only one of us had the balls to run for office, and it wasn't you. So.
I love it. No, and we love you. Thank you so much for coming on here, stretching your lunch break out for us here, so you could give us a little bit of your time. And we hope to be seeing a lot more of you. I hope to see Tennessee 4 go blue, and I hope everybody listening can help with that effort. How can they donate to you or support your campaign in other ways aside from following you on social media?
Yeah, follow me on social media. If you are in the Tennessee 4th District, come out and meet me. We're going to be doing an active canvassing campaign going into the spring. If you can donate, please donate $5, $10, $15, $20. I love a small dollar donation. You can do that at victoriafortennessee.com. You'll get a little pop-up. You get on the mailing list. I won't annoy you with all things other than giving you a cute little postcard to say thank you. No matter how many times you donate, you get a different one. Most of every time. I have some donors who have been long-standing, and they were like, "You don't have to write us thank you notes anymore." And I was like, "No, I'll write it." I do like one a quarter for some of my regulars, just to make sure they know I'm still there. I still love them because I have a list. I read every single name. I know most of my donors. Some of them are out of state and I adore them, like Vic Myers, who made a video in 24. I didn't know he had donated, and he got a thank you note, and he made a video about it, and I was just like, oh my God, it's awesome. Me. So these are ways to help the campaign. But most importantly, get out and vote. Activism is a muscle. Pick one thing that you want to do to get involved and do that. As it gets easier, and if you need to know what it looks like to get involved, go and follow me on social media. I talk a lot about this. I want to make it easier for voters to feel empowered, to get involved and become part of, moving the needle and making change, because it is possible. It's not an easy road, but it's worth fighting for.
That's incredible. You're doing really incredible work, and again, we really appreciate your time. It was lovely meeting you, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Hopefully here in the future coming up, and hopefully helping to get you in that seat and start turning Tennessee blue. For everybody listening and watching, we appreciate the hell out of you guys. Obviously, you guys are the ones who give me the opportunity, give Taylor and I the opportunity to meet great people like Victoria, go to great events like DC where I got to meet Victoria, and have these great conversations. And you just listening obviously supports us doing that. But if you want to support us more, you can do that either by becoming a member on Facebook, subscribing to the Patreon, or, you can just send us cash in the link in bio thing. We've got ways to do that, too. We'll never turn down your money. You can also buy merch at offthewagon.com. But again, we just appreciate the hell out of you guys listening and giving us this platform. It's really incredible. We love you all. We love you, Victoria, and we will see everybody next week.